This is why you have nervy shoulder and arm pain. And if you don't want to keep wasting your time and money dealing with your pain, then you have to understand these 3 principles so you can get rid of it in record time. My name's Adam. And that first principle is probably something you already know, except this one comes with a twist. Have you ever heard the phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it? And no, I'm not talking about that myth in 9th grade. What I'm talking about here is you losing your muscle mass if you don't actually use them. And this also applies to your brother's toys as well. This is a very simple idea that if you don't strengthen your muscles, then your muscles will get smaller and your brother will take his toys back. Oh yeah, and your body will have less stability. And in a nutshell, this is the whole idea behind physical therapy. They're trying to strengthen all the weaker muscles around the body so that it can become more stable and stronger, and therefore your pain can hopefully go away. And a very simple example of this is you probably have something like neck pain, you have something like thoracic outlet syndrome, or you have upper back pain. And if any of those are your situation, then there's a good chance they had you strengthen the muscles in the upper back and the muscles in the neck. But yet you still have some kind of chronic pain every time you're doing your work. So why is that? The answer has to do with that twist. If the phrase, you don't use it, you lose it, is seen as the equation, then you can basically look at it as a negative equals a negative. So what if we took that and flipped it on its head and actually did a positive equals a positive? The first positive is pretty easy to understand, and that is the more you use it. But the second one has nothing to do with strength. So if you guess that, you're wrong. It actually has to do with tightness. The more you use it, the tighter it gets. And that leads me to principle number 2, and that is tightness creates tension. And to show you what I mean, let's take a quick look on how to fix a crooked tent. And yes, I had to put this on because my hair is not listening. Okay, well, zooming in here so you can see what's happening. We have the crooked tent leaning to the left, going this way. We have a rope here with a giant knot in it right here. And then we have the other rope that is stretched out towards its limit. And there is Rio because he wanted to be in the video. Now looking at this example, if you had to fix this crooked tent, what is the first thing you are starting with? And if you answered untie the knot, you're wrong. You first have to pet Rio, then you untie the knot. And the reason why is because once you untie this knot right here, on the shorter rope, it will set off a chain reaction, allowing the tent pole to straighten up and the longer side to get shorter and not have so much tension. Pretty straightforward, right? The knot is creating some kind of tightness within the tent, making it get pulled in that direction, resulting in tension in the other side of the rope. And before we move into principle number 3, let me ask you a quick question. Which part of this crooked tent is going to give out if it stays this way? Which part is going to break first? Is it going to be the shortened side with the rope or the knot, the crooked pole, or is it going to be the elongated side, the elongated rope? Make sure to keep your answer as we move into principle number 3. There's actually a pretty big controversy within the health community. And no, it's not what Joe Rogan said last week on his podcast. It's actually that your posture creates your pain. Now, to understand principle number 3, we're pretty much going to be backtracking a little bit and going back through the other principles and how they all relate together so that you can not only see the bigger picture, but you can also have an immediate idea for what you need to work on so that you can get rid of your pain. Now, going back to principle number 1, the more you use it, the tighter it gets. Well, let's take a look at this from a posture point of view. If your lifestyle is forcing you to use your shoulders, your chest, and your neck every single day to type on a computer, drive, or play an instrument, or do whatever, then there is a good chance those muscles are going to end up getting tighter and tighter and tighter. But here's a kicker, right? It's not just the muscles that's getting tight here. It's also the fascia system around it that's getting tight. Your fascia system is basically a thin connective tissue that wraps not only around your muscles, but also through them. And what this fascia system does is it pretty much acts like a muscle by creating constant tension, by constantly pulling on itself and everything around it. And what's even more interesting about this is that this fascia system goes from the top of the head all the way to the bottom of the feet in one continuous kinetic chain that you can easily follow, very similar to a muscle. So when you think of fascia, you can basically think of it as one giant muscle. Well, the more you're in a seated position, for example, working on your computer, the more these giant muscles are going to get tighter and tighter, resulting in your bad posture. Does that make any sense? Let me know in the comment section below. And while you're down there, might as well hit that like and subscribe button. Now, this brings me to the second principle and how it relates, and that's going to be tightness equals tension. When you overuse one side of the body, like the front of the body, for example, then what's going to end up happening is not only do those muscles get tight, but you also end up developing something like a myofascial trigger point, also known as a knot. Wink, wink. Speaking of the tent analogy, if you remember the question I asked you earlier, which side is going to break? Well, the answer is going to be the stretched out side first. Remember, that side is stretched out to its limit, stretched out to its max. So any more little pulling on it is going to make the stakes in the ground pop up and make the tent collapse. Now, let me ask you, where do you feel your pain, your chronic tightness pain, when you're working on the computer? The answer is most likely going to be somewhere in the upper traps, the neck, or the upper back. And that is because you are feeling the tightness, the tension, the areas that is about to break within your posture, within your body. It's the weaker side that's going to pop out first, and it's the weaker side your doctors try to strengthen in order to help you with your pain. But as you can see, this is not correct because we have a whole other side to this analogy, to this tent, and to our bodies that we must address. We have to address those knots. If you just look at that tent for a second and think about someone's posture, like forward head posture, where is your skull relative to your body, right? It's moved forward, like how the pole is moved forward in front from the base. You also have muscles that are shorn and tightened that creates compression on the nerves and blood vessels, which is how you get tingly arm and shoulder pain and thoracic outlet syndrome, even carpal tunnel, things like that. That's because those muscles are getting compressed. They are knotted up. And that all creates the muscles in the back to get stretched out, feel tight, and feel painful because they are the ones at its limit. They are the ones that are about to break. So basically what this means is you have to work on those trigger points and the fascia restrictions in the front of the body, like the pec minor, the muscles in the front, like the SCM and all that, in order to release those knots, which is then going to make the upper back looser and make it easier to strengthen. And if you want some proof on how releasing your fascia can improve your posture in just a few minutes, then make sure to check out this simple study. I might have to read off this, so excuse me here. So basically in this first study, what they wanted to do was see if there was a relationship between your pec minor tightness and rounded shoulders. And they also wanted to see if your pec minor, if the tightness of it was related to your lower trap straightness, the activity of it. So what they did was conducted a simple randomized study here with 56 shoulders, meaning 28 people in general, to see if soft tissue mobilization, meaning myofascial release and all that, was actually effective with rounded shoulders, with pec minor length, and with lower trap activity, muscle strength, pretty much. Here's what they found. So pretty much the group that had the rounded shoulders worked on with the myofascial release, they actually saw an improvement in their rounded shoulders, not only immediately after that treatment session, but also for 2 weeks after the initial session. And what's even cooler here is that this one and the placebo group also showed an increase in their lower trap strength, even though their pec minor wasn't even lengthened. So basically what this whole study said was that targeting the pec minor, the muscle in the front of the body, targeting it with a myofascial release was able to improve rounded shoulders and activity in the lower traps, meaning you release one side, the tent is able to relax, and the tight side, the one that is full of tension, has some slack in it, meaning it's easily able to contract. But here's the thing, right? Fascia releases and all that, it doesn't just help your posture, it also helps your pain and your mobility. because here's another study to show that. This study involved 18 people who measured their before and after of their pain, their shoulder disability levels, mobility, things like that, before and after a simple fascia release treatment. And what the results showed was that there was a significant improvement in range of motion, reduction in pain, and this all was there up to 7 days after, or at least they checked 7 days after and it was still there, meaning it could have been there for weeks on end. Additionally, there was a significant improvement in the disability of arm, shoulder, and hand scores, indicating better shoulder function. Basically, what all of this is telling us is that a myofascial release, releasing the fascia in the front of the body, will not only help your posture, but also help a lot of your shoulder pain, including with thoracic outlet syndrome. And if you want to quickly get rid of your pain in the same way with a simple 10-minute routine that you can do before work, here's what you need to do. All you have to do is click on the link below or head over to this website. From here, simply watch that 10-minute video for free right before your work, and then finally let me know how it goes in the comment section below. In case you're wondering why I'm holding my hand here and why there's a random letter, well, if you didn't notice, there's random letters throughout the entire video. And if you just so happen to put all those letters, 5 in total, inside of the promo code for the TOS challenge, and something magical might just happen. Just make sure to hurry up and do it because this offer is very, very, very limited.